Have you heard about the big news of the day? That is the 3 p.m. showtime right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, live from the Xfinity Lounge with Derek, Kyle. I'm Devon, president of basketball operations, Bree. Good to be with you all. Glad to see you all in the chat. We appreciate you hanging out with us on a Tuesday, broadcasting here again from the Xfinity Lounge, presented by Rothman Orthopedics and our good friends from Ford as well. Welcome to the show. We have a lot to get into here on the program, as we have got to talk about one fella in particular, and Malik Beasley still out there as a free agent. But before we get there, we want to tell you about becoming a diehard member here, and doing so by taking advantage of right now, Bree, our limited time $36 football club special. And you get the free football club t-shirt to go along with it. Sign up to become a diehard member right now. That's $3 a month, $36 for your intro year. You can't beat that. Football season gets underway. EJ Smith now in the fold with us. Bo Wolf, Fran Duffy, and Les Bowen to talk football. Sixers, you got my guys right here, Derek and Kyle.
Who's on the Taylor Swift beat, Devon? Do we have anyone for that
and Brenna
yet?
on the Taylor Swift beat. They've got you covered on that.
Bree said no.
All right, Brenna.
What are you talking about, Devon?
Brenna has that one covered.
I'll study up.
Flyers getting ready to start the season soon.
Tyler, congratulations on being promoted to the Taylor Swift beat.
That is the quickest we have ever seen Bree turn on her mic. Like, she was no.
Hell no.
I'll study up just
There
for
you
that.
go. And
Bree was
also,
like an NBA player on a bad miss. Hell no.
hell no. Flyers, Charlie, writing about that team, and with baseball playoffs underway soon, you got Jim Salisbury. Make sure you sign up to become a diehard member. $36, and once again, you get that free t-shirt as an intro offer and a welcome to become a member of our community here at All PHLY. We look forward to seeing you, more and more of you, sign up as the big parts of the seasons start with the winter teams, and certainly with football and baseball also in the mix. All right, let's get to over the weekend, Malik Beasley, who is the biggest name free agent outside of one name value-wise and production-wise. He's the biggest name out there, and that's Malik Beasley, the sharp shooting wing from Detroit Pistons. He had some things happening, Kyle, this summer that caused him.
That's one way of putting it, Devon. Some things happening.
Still be available right now as a free agent. He was set to make some pretty good money this summer after shooting over 40% from three on a playoff team that turned things around. I believe they were the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference this past season. But because of some investigations happening towards him from the FBI and all, with the gambling things that have really surfaced with Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier, and then his name came up and some things, and teams just stayed away. And that is a big deal. Obviously, that's the reason why he is still available. Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, with some of the particulars of what it was with Malik Beasley, some of the particulars as to why he is still available right now, what were they saying? And as of right now, as we look at it, we saw a report yesterday as well that says while he was technically cleared, he was cleared all the way cleared.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of legalese, and there's a lot that goes into how this was reported that I will just kind of no comment on. There was a report at the end of last week that Malik Beasley is no longer the target of a gambling investigation, but that does not mean that he was cleared. He is still a part of the investigation. So that report did not say Malik Beasley is exonerated. Malik Beasley is not under jeopardy of being charged with a crime. He's not under jeopardy of any punishment that would come for this. And most notably, for NBA purposes, just setting aside the real life legal consequences, it does not mean he is out of the woods in terms of an NBA punishment until the determination is made on exactly what he did, how he did it, and whether he will ultimately be charged with some form of a crime, right? And so when we put a graphic on the show that says high risk, that is the risk, right? You could go out tomorrow, come to an agreement on a deal with Malik Beasley, and he could still end up being charged, and he could still end up dealing with the punishment from Adam Silver could end up with, we saw what happened with Jonte Porter.
Yep.
And
Terry Rozier still dealing with
Terry
some
Rozier
things.
has it hanging over his head as well. And all that is to say, if you're someone who only saw the reporting last week and was, hey, Malik Beasley is free and clear, or that's how you interpreted how it was presented, I don't blame you for that, but that is not the case, right? He is still under investigation. And so any team right now that would commit to anything with Malik Beasley and vice versa would be signing him under the understanding that this could just completely blow up, and that essentially turns back into a voided or an empty roster spot. And that is why, while Malik Beasley is certainly the most productive NBA player that is on the open market still, setting aside the restricted free agents who, are, I think, more coveted players than Beasley is, that's the big risk here, is you still do not know if this guy will be able to play professional basketball after all this.
Yeah. It does make it a really interesting dilemma of like, will a team commit, because nowadays with these mid-levels, as we've talked about time and time again, it's not just the contract, it's not just the years, it's also what it handicaps you with in terms of flexibility and how hard capping you at either the first apron with that non-taxpayer mid-level or the second apron with that mid-level or taxpayer mid-level. So a lot of teams, there's going to be some teams who've already used those exceptions, won't use it. Other teams who maybe have spent too close to those apron thresholds and aren't comfortable using it. And it really is like, all right, he's clearly the most talented outside of the restricted free agents that's available. But I'm curious what it's actually going to take. Like, will a team get him on the taxpayer? Is a team going to use a portion or a whole of their non-taxpayer mid-level to try to bring him in? Because obviously the Sixers cannot use their non-taxpayer mid-level, so they only have that taxpayer, which is a maximum of like a 2-year, $12 million deal. That does hard cap them at the second apron, leaves them about $16 million to spend on Quentin Grimes, which obviously we all expect to be resolved pretty quickly here. That's sarcasm, by the way. So,
and real fast, Derek, to your point, for the last 2 off seasons, he had to sign 1-year deals.
Yeah.
One with the Milwaukee Bucks at 2.7, and last year was another show me, a little more money, 1 year for $6 million flat.
Previously, he had a pretty big deal with Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And look, he had like a career year last year. Like, he was really good.
He
for
was
them.
excellent last year, second in 6 Man of the Year voting, and we can get into like all the stats later, but
Second
I believe the
was it
reporting
May
this summer
threes?
was prior to this. The
3
specter
year,
of this
42,
investigation was 3 years, $42 million is what Detroit was going to give him, and that essentially ended up going to Duncan Robinson, who they pivoted to after the legal stuff came down.
So he had a really good year. The Sixers obviously have a very crowded backcourt already, including young players that you want to develop. That's probably the biggest sticking point outside of the whole uncertainty over his future and his playing availability and the investigation, obviously. But look, they could use a really high volume, good shooter for sure. And they could use he's obviously catch and shoot, movement shooter. You can run him off some screens. They could really, really use that skill set. But I also besides the fact that it would hard cap him, and look, there's not a lot of teams out there that I think are real threats to sign Grimes anyway. But if you basically give yourself an upper limit, maybe a team gets a little bit more willing to take that chance. But I don't want him taking minutes from Jared and VJ. Is partly where I'm at.
Before we get too far down that road, on your point on the mid-levels and who has the space, Keith Smith over at Spotrac, who he does a ton of CBA and salary cap type stuff, he posted about who actually still has room or parts of their mid-level. So I'll just go down the list here. Brooklyn, we know, has 15 in cap space. I believe they can free up more. So they would be the top of the market in terms of pure dollars. Also worth noting here, Malik Beasley from Detroit can, I think, still get around 7.2 million on a non-bird rights deal. The other teams that could potentially be in here, and we can go through who we think might be a threat or would be interested. Charlotte has about 14 million in the non-taxpayer. We talked about Charlotte when they were thinking about and eventually did draft Con Knipple.
Yes.
I think Charlotte would stray away from someone like this based on what we've heard about them wanting to get, for lack of a better way to say it, a little more serious, a little more professional. Like, I don't think that they'll be in the mix here. Chicago has roughly 14 million, Indiana 13.5, Miami 7.3, OKC 8.5, Sacramento 7.3, the Wizards also with 14.1. Do any of those teams jump out as like, yeah, they would use a bunch of money to bring in Malik Beasley?
Not really.
I mean, most of the teams he's been connected mostly to the Cavs and the Knicks, and I think they only have minimums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So no, not really.
Yeah, like OKC definitely not.
No.
They're coming off a title. They don't need to take the risk. Now maybe you say they're already so good that you take the risk, and if he's out of the league, it doesn't really impact them. But I don't see it. Indiana, I feel like this is a retool year. Doesn't really do much for them. Miami, no, culture-wise, I just think it's the opposite of what they go for. Sacramento, you could talk me into maybe they punt on him. Chicago, maybe they punt on him. Washington, I don't think, even though they have a bunch of money between the developmental guards, they got Carrington, they got Trey, they have the older vet, like the more serious vet types, right? They got Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton. And
brought in Cam Whitmore.
And CJ's there, right? They brought CJ in that trade with New Orleans. So, like, I don't really see it for them. So I do think it's probably more taxpayer mid-level, or the point about Cleveland and New York, maybe a minimum type deal. And that's why he becomes appealing, because the teams that could offer him a bunch of money, I just don't think are going to, if I had to guess.
And before we get to the fit and minutes and all that Derek talked about, one thing that Gene brought up that we were also going to mention was, just because he may be in the clear for right now and all of that, doesn't mean that the league, though, won't, based on whatever. Is he going to be suspended? Will he miss some games? Will he miss some time? We don't know. We don't know to what lengths this goes, where the NBA is saying, hey, you're going to have to miss a certain amount of games. And would that then affect the Sixers' decision-making, or any other team's decision-making on bringing in Malik Beasley potentially as an addition? So he's really, really good. He is really good. I remember as we would have fun and we would do stuff, Bet365, and putting in our pregame bets and all. And I remember one game. I
don't want to be joking about it with players.
And that's the crazy part. But I remember one game where, before we knew all of this, I was like, 5+ threes for Malik Beasley, that type of thing. And that's how good he was last year. I think he and Anthony Edwards were battling for the most made three-pointers by the last game of the year. And we'll show some stats on the other side. Oh, Bree has them right there. He played all 82 games for the season. He was available for all of them, played all 6 against the Knicks in the playoffs. He had a big mistake at the end of that one Game 6 game that eventually sealed the series. But he was really good for his 16 points, shot close to 42%, and attempted 9, Kyle, that you mentioned, 9.3 per game that just I know both of you just talk
volume.
About.
And that's as a bench guy, too.
Yes. So he's really good. And Derek, I was saying to Kyle, I think you were walking away and doing something else, and I said to him, number one, if he's not the best shooter on the team, it's between he, Tyrese Maxey, and Kyle brought up Jared McCain. That's a good problem to have. To have 3 shooters like that.
Yeah. Well, and then Paul George had a similar shooting season the year prior with the Clippers, where he was right around 9 threes per game too, right? And in the low 40s.
And Quentin Grimes,
it might be 8 or 9 threes.
Quentin Grimes will fire those things up too.
Oh, he'll shoot.
He'll get some shots off.
He'll shoot. No, they will have a lot of shooters. And Beasley's the type where, like, if you had confidence in Joel Embiid, you'd probably have more confidence in taking this risk, right? Because it's not like typically Daryl Morey goes into the season with an unused 15th roster spot. So you're not going to get any production out of that roster spot. So if he plays 20 games and then there's a suspension coming down, oh, well, that's 20 more games than you would have gotten anyway. It's tough because you're relying on him, and then he's gone. You got to change your game plan and your rotation. So that there's not, it's not consequence free, but they are probably going to go in there with an unused 15th roster spot. I would be willing to take that risk a little more if I had confidence in Joel Embiid. But since you don't know what you're going to get out of the big fella, you also have to, work this kind of like dual timeline type thing, which is always a tough needle to thread. And you want to make sure that VJ and Jared and yada, yada, yada get their minutes.
Yeah. So the 15th roster spot thing is interesting, right? Because I think there are some fans who would rather they just use it. Put somebody in there that can help them. And Daryl in the front office pretty consistently argue, like, if it's for trades and flexibility, which, we can do air quotes and eye rolls and however you want to interpret that as it pertains to ducking the tax and things of that nature. But to me, this is an opportunity where Devon and I talked before the show. I think the big thing is, like, look at the Kelly Oubre signing, right? Kelly Oubre, when they brought him in initially, was clearly more talented than a minimum level signing, right? Yeah. Kelly has scored 20 points a game. Whatever you think of the efficiency, how it was impactful to winning, blah, 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 blah. And the rest of what Kelly brings to the table. The talent level is high, right? And so when they brought Kelly in on that type of deal, it's like, absolutely, right? This is the type of player that if you can just harness what he's good at and minimize some of his flaws, you're getting a steal, right? And so it's when you make exceptions to rules, when you can get a player who brings something unique to the table. I would absolutely say, as much as I hammer them for, I'm sick of seeing all these guards and there's only so many guys you can put on the floor that are this size, and I'm not a believer in the defense, and we can go down the list. You have a guy that in back-to-back seasons shot 41% from three and did that on 7 attempts per game and over 9 attempts per game in those 2 seasons. He's generally been durable and healthy the last few years, has played 79, 81, 79, 82 games over the last 4 years. Had some issues before that in at least a season, right? But I just think you look at it and say, you are not getting a player anywhere near this productive at anywhere near this value at this point of the offseason. So while I wouldn't be like banging down his door necessarily until I know with confidence that he's in the clear and he's going to be able to play and the hammer's not going to come down on him, it does qualify as like, this is better than any other realistic option that you could have at this point in the offseason. So you have to at least consider it on some level.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his stats, and I'm already up to 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and he had 18 games on the season where he made more than 6 threes in the game. 18 of those. And I started at 6 because he had multiple with 7, and he had a few with 9 in those games. So when he gets hot, and he can make those in a flurry. Mm-hmm. And that opens up so much for what you could do with everyone else if he's making those shots like that. We've already seen it with JJ Redick. Seth Curry, we've seen it. We talked about him. Tyrese Maxey now, we have seen it so many times where you make they're just fearful of not letting him get an inch of space to get those shots off. That guy coming off the bench in 25 minutes or so of action and being able to get those shots off that way and can change a game, can flip a game, can just blow out a game in the third quarter in a blink of an eye, that's the kind of person that you may want to fill that final roster spot with.
No, and I mean, just having multiple high-volume shooters like that, because Paul George the previous year with the Clippers, 8 attempts, 41%. Jared McCain, obviously high-volume, accurate last year. Tyrese Maxey, high-volume, has been accurate in the past when he was playing more off-ball. Degree of difficulty went up, but another high-volume shooter. Add in Beasley there, and you've just got a couple of guys who have a chance to, if you have 4 or 5 guys who have a chance to get hot any given night, you have a chance to really start winning the math battle instead of conceding it every trip, every night out on the floor. I don't have enough confidence in the veterans to be healthy that's necessarily my priority. And it could have come back and biting you. But I really want to see Jared McCain and I really want to see VJ Edgecombe on the floor for significant minutes. That's my biggest.
We'll definitely dive deeper into that.
It's not even the risk of him and the gambling investigation. I just even if you told me he was going to play 82, I mean, look, I'd have interest. He's a good player, but I really would need to get these guys some minutes. I really do.
So let's talk about that on the other side. More shooting never hurts, but maybe in this case it might. Let's talk about it on the other side when we come back right here.
More shooting never hurts, except when it does.
Except when it does. Let's talk about it when we get back right here on this Tuesday. Should the Sixers look at Malik Beasley and filling that final roster spot this late in the free agents period? Free agent period is long gone. Should they look to bring him in? We'll discuss it more.
Don't tell Quentin Grimes that.
That's very true. When we get back on the other side, right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, presented by Rothman Orthopedics and Fort Tough.
Look, guys, free agency is unpredictable. We did not expect to be talking Malik Beasley here in late August, but life is unpredictable as well. And the price of your internet should not be. Get a reliable price for a reliable collection. All in means all in. You get Wi-Fi equipment and unlimited data included. Then there's a 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. One internet price, 5 years guaranteed. Change is always happening. Rules are rewritten. Records are broken. Athletes come and go. But no matter what changes in 5 years, the price of your internet will stay the same. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change.
Thank you once again to one of our great new friends at Ford. Got to tell you about America's all-time best-selling SUV, which is, Devon, the Ford Explorer.
Yes, indeed.
Which has a legacy of family trust and performance. I can tell you about that family trust and performance. My mom drove a Ford Explorer growing up. I have so many great memories. I brought it up multiple times. Driving down to the beach, driving through the middle of Pennsylvania, driving down to Phillies games, Eagles games, all types of places. You can create some of those memories too. They have 3-row seating for up to 7 passengers. It's great for families and for road trips. You can get it in rear-wheel drive or intelligent 4-wheel drive for better traction and control. Comes with a choice of 3 powertrains, including a hybrid for better fuel economy. The hybrid model offers up to 500 miles of driving range, so you get a great balance of power and economy. All sorts of the digital bells and whistles, the tech that you want in a brand new car, right? You got the Ford Copilot 360. You have a digital instrument cluster, so it's got a high-tech feel to add on to that driving experience. Terrain management system that lets you drive in snow, sand, and if you want to tow or haul stuff, the Ford Explorer can hold that for you too. Up to 87.8 cubic feet of cargo space when you fold those rear seats down. If you're moving, if you're hauling, if you're doing different things, not hauling people around, the Ford Explorer is also for you. You can also get captain's chairs for the rear seat passengers for extra comfort and accessibility. Who doesn't like bringing people in their car and having them feel like they're having a luxury experience? It's built for families, but it's ready for adventure. A do-it-all SUV. For more information, visit your local Ford store.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast, presented by Ford and that great Ford Explorer, Ford Tough, and Rothman Orthopedics. All right, Derek, you've been wanting to talk about. Go ahead.
Well, I want to bring up one other thing. Kyle kind of touched on it, but you know Josh Harris is going to want to be in position where they can possibly duck the tax if things go sideways.
That's the thing. I don't care. Like I
know
that's
that.
a reason it wouldn't happen.
Sure.
It's a reason I just strictly do not care about it all.
I agree. Unfortunately, the guy running the team does care. Sixers are about $2 million under the luxury tax right now. Let's say they sign, they have, I think it was $22 million below that second apron. Let's say they use 20 of it, 6 to bring in Beasley, 14 on Grimes. All of a sudden you have, if things go sideways, you have a lot of salary to get off the books if you want to get under that tax. Adding that extra $6 million for Beasley, would they do it? I have my I'm skeptical.
Josh Harris can wipe away his tears with the receipt for the helicopter fuel every month. I just don't care.
Look, I get it.
But I understand and I hear you.
Yeah. Don't care either, but fair point. All right, get to the on-the-floor part that you've been wanting to get into. The fact that it could take away minutes from the young guys is what we've talked about a lot in the summer when it came to free agency. This is a guy, though, that we did not expect to be there.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 things. So you already have Quentin Grimes, who, theoretically plays a similar spot. But I do think Quentin is a better defender and a little more versatile of a defender. So if you were at a spot where, let's say, you had to pick either Beasley or Grimes, I think Grimes is a more natural fit because you can be a little more competitive on both sides of the floor. Even if, Beasley's a more seamless fit offensively for sure. But especially if you have both of them then, and you've got Beasley and Grimes along with Maxey, all of a sudden that's 3 guys getting, between the 2 of them, 90 minutes at mostly guard spots. Like, I just don't know if you bring back Grimes and add Beasley, I don't know how you keep all of them happy while developing your young guys. And
It would be very tough.
The answer to get the minutes is, well, people are going to get hurt, unfortunately, on this team. Even still, like if you get an even modicum of health, I really do worry, like I said, how do you keep the veterans happy while developing the young kids?
I think if you were to do that, it just becomes impossible to avoid 3 guard lineups, right? There is no way that you go into the season with that group of players and say, we're only playing 2 guards at a time, right? It almost by default has to be, we are as an organization committed to constant 3 guard lineups. And like, look, there's some merit to that, right? I think on some level, I want to see Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe on the floor together for stretches of time, because pie in the sky scenario is that over time, VJ gets bigger, gets stronger, and that he can cover threes and they can make that work as a defensive combination between those 3, because there's enough there offensively that you want to see it. But you don't want to be pot committed to having to play those types of lineups, right? And you don't want to be put in a position where, all right, you sign another veteran, and it's a veteran who's good. It's a veteran who can help you win basketball games, a veteran with a unique skill and a skill that helps every team, but especially this team that has been starved for shooting. You don't want to say, all right, we got to play this guy, but now that comes at the cost of a developing Jared McCain. Now that comes at the cost of the guy you just took number 3 overall in the draft. And all of a sudden, guys are getting squeezed. And like, I think there's a world where it can definitely work. And I think when you look at how Indiana played last year and how they managed the regular season, where it's, hey, these guys aren't playing 35 to 40 minutes a night. Instead, they're playing high 20s and low 30s. And then by the time you get to the playoffs, they're just coming at you in waves, right? They've developed this rotation where all these guys can play, all these guys can hang. And just when you think that you've gotten a break because, oh, this guy sits on the sideline, all of a sudden it's TJ McConnell and it's Nembhard and it's all these guys are coming in and they're still breathing down your neck the whole time that Halliburton and these other guys are on the bench. And you say, God damn, now there's Benedict Mathurin too. That Ben Shepherd comes in. Like, they just hit you with all these guys. So there's a version of it that can work. But I think it's a version where some of these guys have already gone through a couple of the years of development, where these guys have gone through it together as well, right? Where it's not someone coming in as a hired gun, where it's like, hey, he was supposed to get 3 years, 42, be a priority. His next team, he wants to come in and like, I got to showcase myself again. Yeah. I need to make teams trust me again so I can get that big payday. And so there's a lot of natural friction that would happen there. And I'm not saying that they can't manage it, but I think it's a tightrope to walk. And with all the other stuff hanging over them, Joel's uncertainty, PG's uncertainty, like all these different things, you're adding another complicating factor to a team that frankly probably doesn't need that.
You brought up the Indiana Pacers and how they did it. I remember one game specifically. It was Nembhard or one of the other players that came off the bench, and Nembhard started, but there was another player in post game after they won. They were talking about, I knew I was going to play 25 to 30 minutes tonight, and I had to give what I could give. Mm-hmm. And to your point, did we see the game plan right there? Not with Indiana, but the team that he's leaving. In Detroit, if he does exit Detroit, because they have a big guard in Cade Cunningham. They also had Jaden Ivey. Tim Hardaway had to find minutes on the floor as well. And then they eventually, when Ivey went down, they had to replace with Dennis Schroeder and how they did it. So while this is different we're talking 5 people and they had 4, it's still a juggling act there that they have to find the right combination. And Bickerstaff did that with the Detroit Pistons. And while Jalen Duren or Isaiah Stewart, they are not Joel Embiid, they were a playoff team. They won a lot of games, and they looked really good. And he found his role. He knew what he was on that basketball team, and that was a shot maker. They empowered him to come off the bench and take those 9 threes a game and to be a part of the offense and not get lost because of the fact that it was a needed skill set on their basketball team, just like it would be here in Philadelphia because, again, you cannot have too many of those players like that can do it. Now, I've seen people bring it up, 6'4", that they bring up that point. I think he clears, though, for Kyle when it comes to the 6'4", so he does clear that. Yes, it would be better if he was 6'7", but he's not. But you also know that he comes in with this thing that he does better than almost a lot of people in the
He's
NBA.
He's at the top of the league in this department.
And that's why, right, you have the people in there to make the decisions that they do. If they brought him in here, he's playing. It's just a matter of how much. And you bring up the young guys. We talk about the young guys. They're going to have bad nights. They're going to have off nights. You're going to have to trust somebody else. And what is Nick Nurse going to do? He's going to trust that veteran. And maybe that veteran is not Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon. It could very well be Malik Beasley, still young enough. We just saw it. We saw how it played out. And you just make it work in that way. You already have the problem at the 4 spot where your power forwards are Paul George, Trendon Watford, and hoping that, as we discussed yesterday, that Jabari Walker and maybe Barlow play some minutes at those 4 spots. You're already going to be small in a lot of different areas. But the shooting that we discuss, a lot of off-game days and certainly pre- and post-games when we were together, they couldn't make shots. Mm-hmm. Why is it that the other team had 17 made
It's harder
threes
to defend
and
when
you
you're
had
not
11?
scoring.
Yes. You had 11 made threes. The other team had 17, and that was the difference. Mm-hmm. He might make up that difference in the game. So with Jared McCain being available and being able to play in a better Paul George shooting season, and certainly Joel Embiid being out there, but it doesn't hurt to have that player out there who is at the very top of what he does best in the NBA to add to your roster, especially this late in the game. And you get another steal. And it will work out, you think.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's high risk. I would say the other thing that you add on to it in terms of, how does this impact the young guys? I see people in the chat who are saying, he's 6'4" with a 6'7". Like, he's not a small guard, right? No. He's at least he's in the Quentin Grimes realm in terms of size. Now, he's a worse defender than Grimes.
Yeah.
My fear would be, it's not a big fear, but if you're Nick Nurse, if you're trying to get inside Nick Nurse's head, right? All the reporting that's out there and the common sense that all of us have is he's under the microscope this year. He is in a position where he needs to win. His job is under threat. Daryl Morey's job is under threat. And I agree with you, Devon. It's absolutely correct to say there will be games the young guys are not good enough or underperforming. And if you want to win the game, having another option in a Malik Beasley is a good thing to have. My worry would be they would over-rely on him at the expense of these young guys.
Fair.
And we've seen it before, right, with Doc Rivers and certainly with Nick Nurse, with Kyle Lowry, right? Like, Kyle Lowry, to some extent, was a security blanket for Nick Nurse. It's like, things are going wrong. I got to turn to the guy that I know has done this before, that I have the track record with. And if you sign another vet, it gives the out of, I don't need to see VJ tonight. I don't need to see Jared tonight, at least as much as I would otherwise. And you get trapped in this cycle of, now Jared McCain might have only played 15 minutes tonight. And now VJ Edgecombe might have played 10 to 15 minutes tonight, and they get squeezed. And I don't even want there to be a possibility that can happen. I think healthy competition between the young guys is good. I'm not against bringing in Beasley just because of how unique the shooting is, but I would worry at least a little bit about, how does a coach who is under pressure handle playing the veteran who's more the known quantity versus the developmental guys who maybe they're not going to help you win as many games right now, but they're a much bigger priority for, the next 2-3 years of development.
Yeah. And look, that's a good point, because every coach who has playoff aspirations and playoff expectations are going to defer to veterans 99 times out of 100. But when you have a coach whose job is on the line and whose reputation is on the line and who knows that he is under a microscope, that impulse is just there tenfold. Mm-hmm. Like, he needs someone who is like, great, if VJ Edgecombe is playing well at the end of his rookie contract for his next coach, that's probably not Nick Nurse's primary concern right now. He wants to be here when VJ Edgecombe gets that next contract. To do that, he's got to win games. And again, if you were telling me that Embiid was going to be on the floor, then I would understand that impulse. And I would certainly, a player with the skill set of Malik Beasley would be a great addition. But because I have so much uncertainty and because so much of the Sixers' future is tied to VJ, is tied to McCain. I really just want to, it's in part that Beasley would come here with the expectation he's going to continue to get 25 to 30 minutes. I mean, he was legitimately just runner-up in Sixth Man of the Year, playing like 28, 29 minutes per night. I'm sure he wants to get those kind of minutes because even if he takes let's say a 2-year taxpayer mid-level, he wants that next contract that he thought he had lined up with Detroit before all of this unfolded. He's going to want those minutes. And in order to keep him happy, you're going to have to give him the minutes. And you have a coach who's going to be very incentivized to give him those minutes because of the expectations, because of the job security. It's just, I would worry a lot, especially about someone like Jared.
Little pushback, just because when we were talking yesterday on the mailbag and someone brought up how to allocate the minutes and all, and we started to dive into if they're planning to win again and being in the position to be in a playoff team and trying to win and take advantage of, I think the question was about Embiid's championship window. To both of your point, you're going to lean veteran in that spot if things are not going well with one of the two young guys, whether it's the fact that they're not scoring well enough or on the defensive end, they're just making mistakes, or even on a simple set and they make 2 bad passes and he's like, all right, get him out. You're in a 7-game series and you cannot risk that at that point. And that's where somebody like that then comes again. He's out there right now. We didn't expect it, and that's why you do it. We're not maybe talking about this 2 weeks ago while he's still under the investigation, and we don't think he is going to be available at this point of the season. Maybe somewhere down the line when the season got underway, yes, but we just talked about this in this way because, yeah, they're going to lean on the vets, and we know that. And if they're not ready, that's also okay because they're only in year 1 and year 2, and it's not often that you see rookies come in and making an immediate impact in situations like that.
I think to your point, Devon, and to give Nurse some grace, because it was just like he's going to default to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very tricky situation to manage, right? Because in many respects, the fan base has kind of already moved on from the Joel Embiid era, right? I think if you talk to the average Sixers fan, and certainly people who watch our show every day, they're not thinking about, hey, this team has a chance to contend this year. They're not thinking about how deep in the playoffs can they go. They're mostly thinking about how do Maxey, McCain, and Edgecombe look together and individually.
Mm-hmm.
What does that future look like? How far down the road is it going to get before you see kind of the next Sixers? And so they don't really care about, oh, maybe Malik Beasley helps you win, I don't know, 3 or 4 more games with some hot shooting by himself. And that's great. But like ultimately, what does that mean for the guys they're more invested in? Now, the people who aren't in that camp who are saying, I'm still willing to wait on Joel Embiid. I'm still willing to just see if he can get healthy, to see if he can reclaim some of that old self, to see if Paul George has a bounce back year. That there's a big contingent that is going to be in that camp too, right? So you're having to try to thread that needle and appeal to all these people. Like the other thing too, it's easy to say in the off season, hey, I care about development. I care about the young guys. I care about this. When those games start, if they're losing, people do not care, right? People will say, I don't put the better guys in. Yep. I want to see whatever it takes for them to win.
The first
and that's
time,
fair.
The first time I see Kyle Lowry on the floor, I'm like, gosh darn it, we should have got Malik Beasley.
And it's like, that's what I mean, right? It's like, we all can sit here and academically be like, I don't care about the wins and losses so much as I care about these guys developing and seeing what it takes for Maxey and McCain to work, McCain and Edgecombe to work, et cetera. But if you're asking people to invest an 82-game season with you watching this team and potentially more in the playoffs, you want the team to be as good as possible, and signing Malik Beasley makes the team better. So it's not to say that I would excuse Nurse for burying young guys to play Beasley or Grimes or whoever.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's like you're in this weird middle ground where I don't know what the exact right way to approach it is. So I ultimately probably fall on the side of, I think the shooting talent is so good that I would be willing to put aside the rest of it. I think the last thing that we need to talk about, though, is the culture stuff and how much you prioritize and, manage that relative to all the rest of this.
So let's tap into that after our final break here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, presented by Rothman Orthopedics and Ford. We'll get into it on the other side. See, we're talking about Malik Beasley. This is like bad timing, right? Bet365. So, hey, stay away from that while you're here in Philadelphia. But with that being said, Bet365, they have over 90 million users worldwide. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 live streams 780,000 events each year. Early payout offers across the NBA and the NHL, as well as pioneering live in-game betting. And with football coming back, same game parlay Sundays, they are happening. Thursday night touchdown, that they're finalizing that and making sure that you're good there with the qualifying for the parlay bets there. Touchdown offers on Thursday with the Birds starting off the season against Dallas. You'll be ready for that, and the early payout offers for not only the NFL, but also for college football as well. And last NFL season, both money lines were paid out 4 times because of our early payout and the end result in the game, and it also applies to college football as well. So download the app, use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Also, MLB early payout offer while the regular season is still going on, leading into the start of the postseason. And breaking news. Well, we've already had some big breaking news today, but this one, Bet365, new customers, no longer $150. You now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get a $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Again, spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When you get your bets and your bank account right, you also want to get your food and your snacking right. Are you craving the perfect snack, satisfies your hunger, and provides the right amount of protein to fulfill your body's daily needs? I've got the solution for you. Righteous Felon beef jerky and meat sticks. Righteous Felon traces its roots back to the hallways of Downingtown Middle School, was officially launched by lifelong friends in their apartment kitchen after college. The Exton, Pennsylvania-based company has been making all-natural, premium quality, better-for-you meat snacks for over a decade. It's now the region's preeminent jerky brand. The packaging is fun and engaging. The flavors are bold and tantalizing, and I can tell you that because we were sitting here eating it right before we came on the show. I'm pretty sure Derek is fiddling with some in his teeth as I'm doing the ad read. We are all in on Righteous Felon, and you will be too. The jerky and the sticks are sold in your favorite local retailers like Wawa. They're running a 2 bags for $10. Best value you'll see anywhere deal.
2 for $10
on jerky right now. You can also go to Giant, Costco, Royal Farms, and thousands of independent stores. Righteous Felon also helps fuel your favorite Philly athletes by working with the nutritionists of each of the local pro sports teams so they can provide jerky and sticks to players to eat before and after workouts, and as a refueling snack during the games. If Righteous Felon jerky and sticks are good enough for Philly's pro athletes to perform at the top of their game, it's certainly good enough for you. So if you're the kind of person who wants a deal and snacks delivered to your doorstep, you can order online at righteousfelon.com using the discount code PHLY20 for 20% off. They have all kinds of cool variety packs and bundles on the site. It's also the perfect gift for that special meat snack lover in your life. We all have one. Again, discount code PHLY20, 20% off your order on righteousfelon.com.
Look at that Righteous Felon with what they're doing, helping build the culture here with the community here at PHLY.
Pro tip, if a beef jerky company stocks your studio, eat the beef jerky after the show, not before the show. But if you screw up,
you just got to go to the meat stick.
The floss stick with you. I got nothing.
The meat stick, you're not as much risk of having a little piece of that beef jerky hanging there.
All show I've been trying to get.
Listen, get some good flavor as we're doing the show. That's what really matters.
I have toothpicks when we leave. I have some in the car. So you
got to carry around a bag of those, the like Oral-B, the portable floss things. Those are great.
Got you covered there, man. All right, let's
maybe
talk
a partnership between them and Righteous Felon.
They help creating the culture. Of course, they are. The Sixers talked a lot about the culture in the offseason and making sure that it's right. And would this be something that they need to get involved with after talking about it all summer long about making sure that the culture is built properly, especially when we've discussed so much about the young players and Tyrese Maxey in particular, helping to mold that culture.
Yeah, so it is also worth noting, we led the show with, hey, the gambling probe is still out there and he is not necessarily out of the woods there. That's not the extent of the Malik Beasley story with the off-court stuff.
No.
So he is currently the subject of a lawsuit from his former marketing agency saying he hasn't paid back. I think it's something like $650,000, and it was an advance that he was supposed to. And so they're suing him over that. He previously, I think it was in the summer of 2021, served a 78-day prison sentence related to a threat with a gun, among other things. He made headlines when he was dating Larsa Pippen, and that was a very dramatic. Now, that's obviously much less serious. It's just, he had a relationship that was very public, but he is someone that always appears to be, from the outside, in the middle of something, right? For
let's not forget
better
about
and often for worse.
Failing to pay his rent, and they had to evict him in
There
Detroit.
was an issue with that. There's
Right.
So I'm just going.
I know
off
he had
of
to take a
some of
1-year deal, but he should have been okay paying the rent.
I don't know what happened there.
So the long and short of it is, he's someone that it's always like you turn a side eye to, and you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? A lot of the time,
Yeah.
when the gambling stuff pops up, you're like, well, not the most surprising guy who could have got wrapped up in something like this.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about moving to a new era, building it around young guys, building the culture, as you say, Devon, with Maxey and Edgecombe and McCain, and even like Watford and Walker, like a lot of these guys have just been in the gym together. They're out at these Rico Hines runs together. Justin Edwards is out there with those guys. You just see them every day working out together in some capacity. And you look at like who this guy has been. You say, on the one hand, the talent and the skill that he brings is worth dealing with a little bit of, roller coaster ride on the personality stuff. It's not necessarily worth introducing that into a locker room where you're trying to turn the page. You're trying to build something new and fresh. And it's like, we're about the work. We're about togetherness. We're about this and that. And then you just bring in a total wild card, right? Like Kelly Oubre is a wild card, but he's more of a just like march to the beat of his own drum guy, right? He's not really a guy who's a troublemaker.
He's a wild card on the court more than his wild card in the
but
locker
he's
room.
not
Yeah.
someone. He's
I
like,
did want to give him a car service though at the end of his
You
first
should.
year. I
yeah,
did
like
wanna do that.
there are some isolated stories, but it's not the pattern of nonsense. It's not the like
right.
he served time in jail type of trouble that Beasley has gotten in. And so you say, is it really worth it at the end of the day when there is still the risk of you sign him and maybe he just is banned from the NBA or he's suspended or whatever it might be? I think that's a fair question to ask if you're on the fence about it.
Yeah. Look, this is one where I could see me being wrong in either direction. Like, if I could certainly see if Joel Embiid comes back and plays somewhat regularly, all of these risks that we're talking about, all the various risks of playing time with the young kids, crowded backcourt, hard capping yourself because you're using the taxpayer MLE, the clubhouse fit. I could see all of those risks as having been worth taking if you're playing meaningful basketball in May. But I could also be sitting here going like, all right, well, Joel Embiid played 20 games again, and Nick Nurse is defaulting to this veteran to try to save his job. That's a risk to me. That's a real significant risk. And I think why I'm at the spot where I'm at is if you bring Quentin Grimes back on, let's say, a $14 million deal, I think they will be flexible enough as a trade, being a buyer on the trade market with their first round picks, with their, Quentin Grimes contract, with Kelly Oubre's expiring, with Andre Drummond expiring, that if they need a Malik Beasley type person, they can probably go out and get that talented level of a talent and hopefully at more of a position of need. So if you end up missing out on this one, I think I'm just okay with it because I would rather be buying from a position of not strength, but at least having more knowledge of whether or not it's worth it before I take that risk.
All right. That pretty much do it here for us on the Malik Beasley front.
I would also add one more thing. How much would you factor in if he goes to Cleveland or New York and he does get cleared all this? And those teams are already pretty comfortably ahead of the Sixers right now. Like they just have fewer questions to answer. And then they take the risk and they get the payoff of, hey, now the Knicks have a guy who can hit 41% of his threes on high volume, or the Cavs had another shooter to the mix on that team that already, like, they were cooking with gas on offense all last year. Like, that is a real risk, right? If you're a team that aspires to compete, and the Sixers certainly aspire to, whether they will or not is another question, and you just let this guy go on a cheap deal, like, assume that you can compete for him, right? Assume that he's not just like, I'm going to New York or Cleveland no matter what. If you willingly say, we're not in the business of signing Malik Beasley, and he goes to another team that then makes them better and that gap grows larger between you and those teams, like, they would deserve criticism for that, because this guy is just out there right now, and ostensibly you could go get him and add him to the roster.
And again, though, if the Knicks or the Cavs add him, it's on a minimum contract.
Yeah.
That's a risk. Like, I would sign him today on a minimum.
100%.
Even with everything we're talking
If you were
about.
those teams.
If I was a Sixers, he was like, I want to come to Philadelphia on a minimum contract, I would take him. Right. Now, here's the other thing. Like, I think if the Sixers have an equal, like a salary that's equal to other teams, whether it's a contender like the Cavs or the Knicks, or some other team where maybe he gets a chance to showcase himself more for the next contract, I think he would pick anyone but the Sixers. Because in part, you don't have the draw of the surefire contender because you have no idea about Embiid. And also you have the crowded backcourt. So like if you get halfway through the season and the season went sideways, Nick Nurse should, if he's thinking rationally and not how to save his job, go, all right, I'm going to prioritize the guys who are going to be here for a long time.
Right.
So if you're Malik Beasley, you're sitting here going like, all right, I'm not guaranteed to have the playing time I want to get my next contract. Even if somebody else is giving me the same contract for this year or maybe even slightly less, I'm going to go over there because I at least feel more secure in my role.
All right. So that'll do it for our Malik Beasley portion of the conversation, which drove the show today. How do you feel? Do you feel any better one way or the other? Of do you feel the Sixers need to look after Malik Beasley here in this case? All right. We were also discussing a little bit because there was a Mount Rushmore put out there from Bleacher Report of Mount Rushmore for all 30 NBA teams. And they put together the Sixers Mount Rushmore, and we wanted to get your thoughts, give our thoughts. Bree, let's show the folks who the Sixers Mount Rushmore, courtesy of Bleacher Report, for the, what was it? The last, was it?
I was going to say, I hope this is not if this is the all-time Mount Rushmore.
No.
Something went horribly wrong.
This was based
someone made a massive mistake.
This was based on, of course, what was that? The Century? The
Holy Toledo.
I think it was this century.
Was it the Century?
I'm pretty
it's the
sure.
Century for the Mount Rushmore for this. Yes, for
Even
the Century.
so, this is bleak.
Hey, by the way, breaking news, Max Strus underwent a Jones fracture surgery and will miss approximately 3 to 4 months for the Cavs.
There you go.
So Malik Beasley, if he wants some opportunities, may have them in Cleveland.
Yes, he will. So there you go. It's for the Century. Bleacher Report. Every NBA team's Mount Rushmore.
That was crazy.
So remember when we did the filling out the best and we were talking about the best roster for around
You're
Joel
going
Embiid
positions,
and
right?
Positions.
And you got the power forward. You're like, man, I don't know what to do here.
Exactly. This is where we see Thad Young in the mix here of power forward as well.
There's no way I'm putting Thad on that list.
I love Thad. One of the nicest guys I have ever covered. He is nowhere near being on a Mount Rushmore.
For the
nowhere
Century.
Near.
So who you got a power forward?
I mean, I might put Lou Williams over him from those same teams.
Let me see. Who's the power
And
forward?
I guess this is just going for.
So we went with Harris, Sharridge, Mike Scott, Nick Batum.
Great role player, but
now again, those were Joel Embiid's teammates.
Yeah,
but in this case, we're talking the Century. Did Tobias Harris have a better Sixer career than Thaddeus Young?
Yes. Yes, he did. He did. As much
he was on a better team.
He was on a better team, but if Thad never, what was Thad's career high in 3-point attempts? 3, maybe?
He was different.
That's a little unfair.
He played up until 2024.
Yeah, but
he never adjusted his game.
We're talking about the Sixers Mount Rushmore, though. Thad left the Sixers in 2014.
I understand that, but even still, I wanted him taking more threes. Doug Collins didn't, and that's why Doug Collins
that's
doesn't
fine.
coach
I'm
in the
just
NBA.
saying he wasn't taking threes in 2024. I don't care. That's not when he was playing on the Sixers.
But I'm saying he never grew with his 3-point shot, is what I'm saying.
I don't want to. He played 7 years for the Sixers and was productive all throughout that time. So
Sure.
I get it from that perspective, but he topped out as like a third man in the sixth man of the year voting, right? As much as I'm loath to give Ben Simmons any credit, I think I'd be more inclined to be like, it could be Ben Simmons, it could be Maxey, frankly, at this point, right? I can't get there with that. Like I love
I don't know how they got there with that one.
Well, are they strictly going by positions?
No, because it was
then he's not in the top 10.
because it was a shooting guard. What was it, Bree? Iverson.
I thought they were trying to
Embiid,
shoehorn in a power forward.
Iguodala,
and a
Embiid,
power. There's
Iverson,
no
Thad.
shooting guard. I guess they gave Iverson both guard positions, and that's what it was. But there's only 4, so you can go with whoever you want.
He's not in the top 10.
All right,
Like,
well,
I
who's your
would
fourth
put-
guy? That's really.
Is Iguodala.
We can agree
on your
it's
third?
probably not Thad.
I'm not.
Iggy's fine.
I have
You-
no
you're
problem
okay with
with
Iguodala at 3.
Yeah.
All right, who's your 4? Is it Lou Williams? Is it?
I would take a short career, something like a James Harden, or just because Thad was here 7
Wow.
years.
That-
he didn't
I
do
mean,
anything.
Yeah, but at that point, you might as well put Tobias Harris for the 5 years.
I would take Tobias Harris over Thad Young.
or you like Kyle said, maybe Lou Williams.
I honestly think it's Ben Simmons.
It probably
might
is
be
If you're
Ben.
Ben Simmons.
asking,
Probably
like,
Ben.
Mount Rushmore is not strictly, these are the best presidents, right? I think that's what people always get wrong about Mount Rushmore. It's like, these are not the 4 best presidents ever. If you were to do like power ranking the presidents, right? They're important presidents, certainly all of them. Some of them are very good. And maybe you could make the case for Thad for that. But if you're talking about who has defined the Sixers in this century, Ben Simmons is absolutely on that list.
I would agree with you.
And Ben Simmons, look, Thad was a league average player for 7 years. Longevity is really his only claim. But if you're league average, I just don't really care about that longevity. So like any player who was playing at like an all NBA like level pace for like even just 2 years, I would take over him. That could be Maxey. That could be a year and a half of James Harden. I think he added more value to the franchise. That could be the first 3 years of Ben Simmons' career. I'm not going to reward mediocrity, which to me, putting Thad Young on a Mount Rushmore is.
James Harden's not
Incredible
sniffing.
guy.
I never
Incredible
thought
guy.
Derek would be this mad
James
about
Harden
Thaddeus
is
Young.
not sniffing the Mount Rushmore of the Sixers for a year and a half.
I'd put
He's
him over.
not.
I'm not saying he should. I'm saying I'd put him over Thad Young.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, so Iverson, Embiid, Iguodala, Ben Simmons, and whoever else that you guys might want to throw in there. That's a pretty interesting one. And then she said, "Man, that's pretty bad for that to have to be have to have that."
All right, so
there
of
in
those
that
4,
spot.
who is George Washington? Who's Thomas Jefferson? Who's Abe Lincoln? And who's Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh God.
So Iverson, Washington.
I don't know.
it
Is he?
Embiid?
Well, who's the best one?
I mean,
Because Lincoln's the best one, right?
Well, but then you'll have the argument
We're
where
gonna
people are saying
we gotta rank these
Yeah, I know,
presidents
right?
first, and then we figure out who is who. And it's gonna. We'll do that.
it's
on
between
another
those
show.
2. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who would lean more Washington than over Lincoln. Obvious reasons. I think I agree with you, but there
Yeah.
are people who would say Washington is the best. That's why I went Iverson. So Iverson and Embiid are.
I don't know if I have the
are those
bandwidth
two.
to try to power rank these 4
I
presidents.
also don't know if I can
today.
get all of my thoughts on this subject out in a way that won't.
Who's the most
get me in trouble.
problematic? Because
So-
that's Thomas Jefferson.
I would agree with that. We just know that Iverson and Embiid are the top 2.
To put it
Whoever
lightly,
they are, that's where we go. They are the top 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the thing: in a couple years, it'll be Maxey, and I don't even think it's going to be debatable.
Who is he surpassing? Simmons?
Thaddeus Young?
No, I mean we took that off and put Simmons on there.
No, well, I think it's Ben as a placeholder because he still does define this period more than other people. But I think
All right.
just in terms of accumulation and whatnot, it'll be easy Maxey
Yeah.
soon enough.
He'll definitely be on there.
Thaddeus Young.
Thaddeus
Blew
Young.
my mind. I didn't see that before
Shout
the
out
show.
Thad.
Clearly.
Shout out Thad.
Thad, one of the great guys in the NBA. So I'm not going to sit up here and slander him like
Oh,
Derek
I
did.
love Thad. I just don't.
Shout out
Maybe
Thad.
we'll slander him in overtime.
Let's go overtime. AllPHLY.com. Thank you on the television side. Thank you to the Fast channel. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. So for some more shenanigans here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right.
Any more news and notes we want to talk about?
We
Taylor
did
Swift?
have more news and notes. Yes, we do have the Taylor Swift. She got engaged.
I know Derek will be just as passionate about that as Thaddeus Young being on the Sixers 21st century Mount Rushmore.
We're a quarter of the way through this gosh darn century, and Thad's on the Mount Rushmore. We got to do better as a franchise. Come on.
Did you see the power forward list we talked about last week for Joel Embiid's teammates?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Rough. All right, overtime. Yes.
By the way, I think the answer to that, I think my answer might actually be early career Robert Covington. Go on.
Wow.
And that's more a reflection of the state of the power forwards in this franchise over the last decade.
Okay. There you go.
I don't think it's not
Cove on
positional. They were all presidents. They played the same position.
No. I'm talking about your debate from a couple weeks ago on the power forward next to him.
Oh, okay. Over Harris.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. News and notes, some extra ones. Yes, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their engagement earlier today. Just messing up the MLB, dropping their schedule for 2026.
Who drops their schedule for next year in
6 months
August?
Major League Baseball does. And so, yes, the big engagement. Okay, cool. It's done. It's over with. We don't have to worry anymore. But the other one was, and I know Kyle wanted to talk about this. We'll do something a little bit later, extra on this one. But the number one flag football quarterback out there right now
in America
is none other than Rajon Rondo. You heard me right.
Seeing this pop up is one of the most mind-melting things I think I've seen on social media lately, and that really says a lot.
NBA All-Star.
This guy
Rajon
was out
Rondo.
here slinging in flag football, and the funniest part is that we know he was a creative NBA passer, right? But there are some passes in, I think, the first clip here where he's throwing like 20 to 25 yard underhand passes to people, and it's like, who would even think to throw a football like that? I don't care that it's flag
Pat
football.
Mahomes is the only one.
Yeah. Well, and even Pat Mahomes, it's more sidearm, right? He does a lot of those sidearm throws. Rajon Rondo is like spinning it. It's almost like he's flicking it underhand. It is wild. My biggest thing was who comes up with flag football quarterback rankings? Who is like the Fran Duffy of the flag football scouting community? That's what I need to know.
Yes.
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Respect
but then you say
to
you looked
the
up
master.
And there was some from
There was a
some
team ranking, but I couldn't find any kind of individual player
like
ranking.
Max
So I'll have to do some more research on the subject. This was very much.
Did this surprise you, Derek?
Sure. Yeah. It's not a complete stunner. Like, I didn't know anything about Rondo being like that, but like, you remember like Tony Roten being like a great quarterback back in the day, Allen Iverson, a great quarterback back in the day. So certainly like you've seen NBA players who could really play the position. So, you know, I just wasn't really in tune to flag football quarterback rankings like Kyle mentioned, but I could see it.
Every time he runs or scrambles, it's so funny watching these guys. Who are like, I'm sure these guys were good athletes relative to the population, but watching a former NBA player just like scoot right by these flag football players.
His defensive instincts came back into play on a few clips ago where he's defending a player. Instead of taking the flag, he knocks the football out of his hand. So Rondo can't get away from his
Peanut Tillman,
all NBA defensive mindset that he has, even in flag football. I bet you the guys didn't know that until we showed you this clip. So there you have it.
Rajon Rondo good at the big three sports: basketball, football, Connect Four.
Final one, as we talk about players from certain eras and all, and you see our shorts here on the table with the Sixers old logo, as we get these teases from them about jersey, maybe the black jerseys possibly coming back. Well, they even posted this on their Twitter account, asking to pick your favorite of the three.
Come on,
the
it's
white
not
home,
even a contest.
The blue alternate, or the black road that we think we know is coming back this season. Derek,
the funniest possible outcome would be
the blue.
All the teasing that they're doing this and bringing the blue ones back.
That's right.
I would hate it for the fans. I would die laughing.
They would still buy it.
They wouldn't sell the black ones, which are the ones that everybody loves,
ones.
and they sell the blue ones.
What's your favorite, Derek?
I mean, look, the white one's just there. It's just there. Like, there's nothing special about that to me. Blue was always fun as a change of pace, but the black is far and away the iconic one. It's not even close.
Yep, I agree.
I've always been I don't like these jerseys as much as everyone for
You don't like
reasons.
the jersey.
Go to allphly.com. We have an inspire.
It's the cut. It's the
of this-
shiny material. It's all that, and I think they'll modernize them if I had to guess. So it won't look as ridiculous. My point has always been, Allen Iverson made them cool, and when you look at them on other people, and the example I always bring up, there's a side by side of him and Matt Geiger, and I'm like, this is who the average person looks like, or what the average person looks like wearing that jersey versus what Allen Iverson looks like.
Yes.
But I get it. It's like people associate it with the last actually successful team of that era with an iconic season individually and as a team. So it's great. I'm glad that people are getting it because people have been demanding it. I do think it'd be very funny to
Jack
pull the
Reacher,
curveball and it's the blue jersey.
Jack
though.
Reacher and D Flyers, the court jester 007, all love the blue. Of the three there, they really like the blue.
Okay.
If you remember, though, before they adjusted those jerseys, they had the normal cut jerseys, Larry Hughes era with Iverson. It was the same Sixers font, black and the gold and all, but they did have the actual normal jersey cut to the Sixers jerseys at that time. So
Just gonna look up Matt Geiger, black Sixers shirt.
he also wore those too, if I'm not mistaken. He wore the ones before this one that became the shiny one. I didn't like the shiny part of it. I agree with you on that one. And back then, though, it was real popular because remember when like college teams were also doing it when they were making their jerseys into basically the cutoff T-shirt sleeve type of jerseys? That was the cool look back then. And the Sixers, Pat Croce just leaned all the way in. Yeah, they leaned all the way into it. If I'm not mistaken, it was also Champion, who was the provider of the uniforms at that time. Yes. There you go.
Look at that. That's what, and I say this as I would look like Matt Geiger wearing the black Sixers jerseys, but it's Allen Iverson is one of the coolest motherfuckers to ever walk the earth. He made those jerseys.
So who would look the coolest on this team since they will be wearing them?
Well, frankly, if Maxey keeps the braids and it's like you do some creative photography where you could do some side-by-sides, I bet that would
a little
be...
bit.
Huh?
I said if you squint a little bit.
Yeah, that's like, do the side profile or the, side into the back a little bit. So Maxey would be up there.
VJ
for sure.
Paul George, I think, can pull this one off as well. Oubre is
Oubre will turn it into some other kind of fashion statement.
But he's cool and he has that fashion type where I think it'll work with him. And I even think Embiid would when he plays. I think that he'll look pretty cool in those.
I think as long as they don't have the ridiculous cut off look, they'll look better than I think.
We have to do some intel on this now. We have to find out.
We'll see soon enough. We know they're coming. All the teasing and maybe they're gonna have they are coming.
It's no coincidence.
It is known.
We keep putting the shorts on the table. Not at all. So there you go. So that'll do it for us with the news and notes. We appreciate everybody hanging out. It's time for the world famous. It's the roll call. Shame Kyle not wearing the blue, liking the blue.
Listen, it's hard enough for me to get my and wrap my arms around the other ones, let alone the blue ones. But I am happy for everyone that's getting those jerseys. I'm happy to see all of our wonderful people who are in here today talking about Malik Beasley and jerseys and Taylor Swift and Rajon Rondo. Love to see you here at the end of August. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you
indeed.
To Eugene Ross,
what
to
up, Gene?
Yams, to who says that Yams said, I once saw Pat Croce at a Little Feat concert and called him Larry Brown to be funny. He was not happy. I can imagine. Yeah, it doesn't seem like something that would make anyone very happy. Shout out to Little Feat, though. Good job by Yams on that one. B-Night.
B-Night, what up?
Music Lover 31, leading the win.
What up, Lee?
Jess in the building. D Flyers in the
Purple
building.
Heart?
Smy Guy hanging out. Jack Reacher.
Love the movie, Jack.
Theo hanging out.
Cast us in Jack Reacher 3.
Marcus Blackstock.
What up, Mark?
My girl Nona, who is not happy with my language. It's overtime, Nona. I got to save these up for Once we're off TV, I got my truck driver.
We got
mouth
60
to
minutes
deal
where we
with.
can't say a fucking thing, and then we got 3 minutes where we can let it fly. All
Now
right?
you're just abusing it. You got to say earmuffs first. Come on. Thank you to my girl Nona for coming through as usual. Thank you also to the court jester. Thank you to who else we got in here today? I ain't having to scroll through all these. I should.
3-time 3257 says what up, jumping in there.
Marcus Blackstock. Yeah, what's up, the 3-time Steelers fan? So we won't hold that against you too hard.
That's preseason.
I know the Flyers guys are, or the Flyers, the Eagles guys are talking about roster cuts right now, the final 53.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So head on over there if you have not already, as we're on the way out today. Keith B. hanging out.
What up, Keith?
Igavini. Will, Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream.
Whew. Oh, boy.
That's all right. Let's get to the super chat that we
We do have one super
had
chat.
one left
from
over. Super
Mark
chat.
Jackson.
Mark Jackson, Philly. So he says, why stop now? Give Beasley a shot. Why
'Cause
stop now?
Philly's like a doorknob. Everybody gets a turn, Mark Jackson said. Mark, thank you for the super chat.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for
Shout
watching
out
the
you.
show, showing up for us. SB Cole, Peter Tom Willis, 505.
What up, Peter Tom Willis?
We had a guy named Tony C who said, no one cares about the Sixers. You cared enough to be here in late August, sir. So thank you for showing up. You buffoon. You absolute fool. Thank you to everyone for being here today. Thank you to the people I didn't mention who I know are here for just being here and hanging out with us like you are each and every day. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. That sounded a little weird.
There you go.
better.
That works.
It's better.
Yes.
And hit the thumbs up button to celebrate the fact that we have not had to put any money in the ramp jar since we put it out here. But also to say thank you to super producer Bree
Yes.
for holding it down with the graphics, the tweets, all the other things during the show because she's the best. We'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Until then,
Live from the Xfinity
take
Lounge.
care of yourselves. Thank you to Ford. Thank you to Xfinity.
Rothman.
Thank you to Rothman. Thank you to all our wonderful partners and friends. Until then, see you later.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.